patriot, leader, hero. Those are just some of the ways to describe Major Brent Taylor. He was also the mayor of North Ogden, Utah, and was killed in combat in Afghanistan during his 4th tour of duty less than 3 weeks ago.
It was just immediate shock, chills, a lot of angst, anxiety for them, their family, just knowing them, and hurt, sorrow. I mean, just this flow of emotions, and it was just a roller coaster immediately.
Just shock. You know, I don't think any of us really thought this was a thing. You know, he's gone many times, and many times I've told my sister, oh, he's fine, oh, don't you even worry about it. He's coming back. Oh, we're not spending 1 ounce of time worrying about that, you know, and to console her, but also because that's what we thought. Like, I really didn't think, you know, not in a wildest dream. And so when we found out, you know, that Brent had been killed, it was just this, like you'd been punched in the gut. And you couldn't really believe someone just punched you in the gut. So you're shocked and confused, and it just took so long to even wrap my mind around that.
Shocked is the way many describe the news of the loss of Mayor Taylor. A community of hearts were mourning the loss of a friend, a leader, a hero. Many needed healing, and many would find healing in a unique way.
So the idea of the flag in the canyon, I feel like it was an inspired idea. You know, I don't feel like I can take the credit for necessarily that whole idea. I had seen a YouTube clip and the KSL documentary about the fall of the flag, and that idea just wouldn't go away. That thought of, you know, maybe there's a possibility of doing that here. I had seen, you know, the ways that had kind of affected a little bit of the community, and the way it made me feel seeing it just on video, you know. And so I contacted Kirk Chug, a great friend of mine. I just kind of talked on the phone. I asked him, you know, what are you thinking? You know, I feel like we both want to do something, and we're both kind of, what can we do? And I think we both had some ideas.
Over the course of 2 days, I had been thinking, what could I do? Josh was thinking the same thing. We called Kyle Fox from his office on Tuesday and introduced ourselves on speakerphone and just said, we are friends of Brent Taylor's. You've probably heard the news. And Kyle said, let me stop you right there. The answer is yes. And he didn't even know what he was saying yes to. We hadn't asked for anything. He expressed condolences to our city, to us personally, and he said, I've been hoping someone from up there would call me. I don't know anybody up there, but I'm glad you've reached out.
From this simple telephone conversation came the idea of hanging Big Betsy, a flag the size of an Olympic swimming pool in a nearby canyon. The thought was that the flag would become a symbol of hope, a beacon of healing to all those who would see her flying. But hanging a giant flag across a wide canyon was a huge undertaking that would generally take months of planning and coordination to pull it off. Josh, Kirk, and Kyle were trying to have the flag flying in less than 3 days.
Kyle looked at me and he said, we're gonna hang this flag on Veterans Day in time for the vigil for Brent. And I thought that's very fitting because Brent was the type of man who would probably have been embarrassed had that flag been hung solely for him. And so very fitting that it was hung on Veterans Day so that Brent could share that honor with everybody who had gone before him, who had given that ultimate sacrifice as well.
To hang a giant flag in 3 days while keeping it a secret would take a miracle and would require a small army of volunteers, The first step was obtaining the necessary supplies to install and secure the line for the flag. It would also be necessary to find someone with the knowledge of how to secure riggings in the canyon above.
And I kind of looked at him and went, I don't know anything about rigging or anything like that. Mark Miller said, my neighbor does. So he called Ryan Stallings. Mark says, hey, we might need your help tomorrow. And that's how Ryan got involved. Ryan had all the equipment that we needed to hang this flag in his own personal stash. That was a miracle. Saturday morning, about 6 a.m., we got together, decided that we would go up and string the line that the flag would hang from. We flew a drone with a 100-pound test line across the canyon. The wind stopped. There was nothing when that drone went in the air and carried that line across the canyon. That was a miracle.
Even the small army of volunteers that was forming to help the flag was a miracle. All of the volunteers came forward with one purpose. They wanted to help the Taylor family and the grieving community of North Ogden in some way to heal. Yet as the group of volunteers began to grow, the biggest challenge that remained was keeping the news a secret. They would find out how successful they were the next morning.
Saturday night felt like Christmas Eve. I don't think anybody slept very well. Sunday morning at 6 a.m. we met at Weber High. We laid the flag out and folded it in a way that it would unfurl correctly. And that went very, very smoothly. We were able to tie it, put it in the bag, and put it in the back of a pickup truck and drive it to where the volunteers met us.
The team wasn't even sure how many volunteers to expect. They thought maybe around 40 or 50 people would be there that morning. Then another miracle unfolded before their eyes.
To show up Sunday morning and there's maybe 125, 150 people ready to help carry that flag was just, it was awesome.
The flag, as we carried it up, we made much better time than anybody thought we would. We were deciding whether to go straight up the canyon or to take the traverse on the west side. Straight up the canyon was steeper, but I'd seen time and time again these pictures of Brent in Afghanistan on these rook hikes, and they'd load these soldiers up, and Brent would always be the first one up, and he'd take the steep way, and I thought, this is fitting, we're gonna take this right up the gut.
We knew the weight of the flag, and then you're going up a steep grade as well. It was gonna take a little bit of strength and exertion. As we're going up the trail, people were just, cheerful, getting out of breath, and that exertion. But then as they traded off with these other groups, I think everyone in their own way experienced, some sort of healing by carrying it, by just being there and seeing. But, there were people that maybe they didn't show up to necessarily help carry the flag that, I want to be a part of that.
As the flag was arriving and being installed on the line, spirits were high. Cheers could be heard as the flag unfurled. As the celebrations continued, arrangements were being made for Jenny to be among the first to see her fly.
So at first, I think it was on Thursday, Kirk was over here and he told me, he said, Christy, I have something. I have a big surprise, but I can't tell you because I got to make sure it's going to happen first. And I didn't know what he was talking about. I mean, what does that mean? But then ended up telling me the day before and had to keep it on a super secret so that Jenny couldn't find out, so nobody could find out, because the second anybody knew, it would just be all over the news. So by the time I was even informed, the wheels had been turning and everything not only was in motion, it was ready to go. It sounded so cool, but I didn't even get it then. Even when they were telling me, no, you don't understand, we're going to put a flag up in the canyon, I'm going, that sounds great, but I didn't understand just how momentous this was and what a feat it was, and not only what it would take to do it, but what it would mean to the community and to the family. Like, I had no comprehension even at the beginning of this, how powerful it would be.
So it was Sunday morning and it was Veterans Day, and obviously a very poignant day. And Christy came over. She'd come over every day, so there wasn't much unusual about that.
And I just told her, I said, Jen, you got to go see this. There's something you got to see, but I want it to be a surprise. And I was trying to kind of downplay it. And there have been some nice things in the community. Some flowers placed by the city office building, and little memorials kind of that have been staged. And I think it maybe was her impression that we were going to see something like that. Oh, someone has done something very nice at the city building, or something like that.
So she came, she got us, she loaded us all in the car. We start driving. I don't know where we're going. We get out of the car, it's freezing cold, it's windy. She's telling me, close your eyes, and she's walking me somewhere on some grass. And then we got to the top of the bowl of the amphitheater at Barker Park, and she positioned me so that when I opened my eyes, we saw that flag. And I'll tell you, there is something about seeing that flag fly. I just keep thinking, by the dawn's early light, look at her, look how beautiful she is, look what she represents. And to see that, it just felt like all of America, all of North Ogden, all of this community coming together and saying, God bless America.
You could see, and I was touched at how powerful it was to her, that there was this flag and it was so beautiful and so touching. But even that, in that moment when we showed her, like, that was the beginning. That was touching to a 10th of the degree of the meaning that flag would have over the next 2 weeks, and what it would do for our family and what it would do for our community. Even when we saw it, that first time, we didn't understand how powerful it was.
Operation Healing Flight 1 had officially begun, and within minutes, people began flocking to see the giant flag in the canyon.
We were down at Barker Park, and there were cars. You could see them just pulling off the side of the road. After we'd come down the canyon and people had started to see this flag, they'd start pulling off the side of the road and getting out and trying to take pictures of it. And we were at Barker Park, and there was a car there. They were taking pictures, and they said, "Do you guys know about this flag?" And we just kind of smiled and said, "Yeah." And they said, "Did you do this?" And he said, "Maybe." Nobody wants any credit for this. But at that point, we started to see what happened to the community and what happened to the people who were grieving in their hearts for the Taylor family over this long and drawn out 2-week process before Brent would come home and we could welcome him home in the way that he deserved. Just this in-between time was just a time of mourning, and to me, before we started working on the flag, it was a time of inaction, like, what can I do? And I think so many people had that. So when they could support this flag going up in the canyon, and when they would share the pictures and the feelings that they had about this flag, it helped heal the community as a whole, because you feel something when you see this flag wave in the wind. Everything that the flag stands for. The bigger the flag, it doesn't mean more patriotism, but when you see that thing fly, it's hard not to feel something.
I felt like I was constantly looking to that canyon all week long, knowing not only had I participated in helping get that flag there, but also what it was doing for not just me, but for our community.
It's like we were all just drawn to it. Didn't matter what your athletic ability was, didn't matter if you'd ever been in the mountains before, people were there. They came and they showed up, and it was just this powerful, almost spiritual experience to be there and to see the flag. Like, again, I didn't understand how significant it would be in the beginning, but it was so powerful.
It's estimated that more than 5,000 people visited Big Betsy as she hung in the canyon. She became a beacon of hope and healing for all. She reminded us of what is truly important: our friends, our family, and our community. What started as one idea by one individual blessed an entire city. As the city paid its final tributes to a fallen hero, they began to realize the power of one life, one idea, one flag can truly make a difference.
One risk can spark a moment, one chance begins a dream, one step can start a journey, one truth can set you free. The road less traveled calls to you. One thought can spark discovery, one choice can start today, one candle conquers darkness, one lighthouse lights the way. The towering mountain